Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, February 20th, 2026. I am Dave Biddle flying solo on today's show. J-Book has a family conflict. Nothing to worry about. He'll be back next week, but he just couldn't make the show this morning. So you guys are stuck with me for today's show, but J-Book will be back next Friday. So kind of a Friday mailbag. I put a thread on the Bucknuts message board for subscribers to ask questions, and I'm going to get to the best of the best. We're going to go right down the list here. There's a lot of interesting questions. The first one comes from Bucks grad. Favorite Ohio State players and coaches. He wanted J-Book and I each to pick, one or two players and then one or two coaches. But since J-Book's not here, I'm going to filibuster. And no, it's not really a filibuster, but I'm going to kind of go by decades. So I caught the sickness at a young age. I've said this before. I was like a diehard Buckeye fan by the age of 6 years old. No kidding. And then by 84, by the time I was 8 years old, Keith Byers and Chris Spielman and Mike Tomczak and Chris Carter, that 84 team that won the Big Ten championship, went to the Rose Bowl. I mean, I was full-fledged. If I wasn't a diehard by age 6, I was by age 8. So I think when you think about your favorite players, I think you go back to your childhood, So for me, I'm always going to go to Keith Byers and Chris Spielman. Those are my two favorite players. And then if I want to really go back to the 82 team, I'd go with Tim Spencer and Marcus Merrick. So there you go. Those are my guys. I guess I liked running backs and linebackers growing up, but especially linebackers who wore the number 36 with Marcus and Chris Spielman. But yeah, I'll go Keith Byers. I'm going to go by decades. I'm going to go 80s. I'll go Keith Byers and Chris Spielman. All right, 90s. Okay, I'm going to go Antoine Winfield on defense and Orlando Pace on offense as my two favorite players from the 90s for the Buckeyes. And I love Joey Galloway too. If I could cheat and throw another offensive player in there, I'd love Joey Galloway. And that's when I would have loved Joey Galloway playing, in that offense in 95. Not that they needed it. They had Terry Glenn and Eddie George and Bobby Hoying. But, Bobby Hoying was the best quarterback that Galloway played with at Ohio State. But he played with sophomore year Bobby Hoying. And then junior year Bobby Hoying as well in 94. But 95 is when Hoying really broke out. I always would have loved it. And the offense was much different in 95. They went from still that kind of like old school Ohio State offense to bam, they brought in Walt Harris, as a lot of you guys will remember, 95, and boom, they were just hitting on all cylinders. I mean, not only did Eddie win the Heisman, but Bobby Hoying was a finalist for all the major quarterback awards. Terry Glenn won the Blitnikoff Award. But I always loved Joey Galloway, despite playing – I mean, one of his years he played with Kirk Herbstreit, and Kirk threw like 4 touchdown passes the entire season as the starting quarterback. So wasn't a lot to go around there. But I remember when Joey caught 3 touchdown passes in the 1993 season, Hoying's sophomore year. They also brought Brett Powers in off the bench that year. A guy scoring 3 touchdowns, receiving touchdowns in 93 was insane for Ohio State. So Joey Galloway would be next up. All right, the aughts, the 2000s. All right, I'm going to go with Chris Gamble, the most underrated Buckeye ever, in my opinion. Maybe not to you guys, but I just don't hear enough, like nationally, people talk about what an absolute stud he was at everything. If you want him to be a number 1 wide receiver or a really good number 2, he could do that. Lockdown corner, he could do that. Return kicks and punts at a high level, he could do that. First-round pick in the NFL, all-pro, played his 8 years, got out, laying low. He was always just a cool cat and just did everything well. He'd play over 100 snaps a game. Remember Jim Tressel talking about that? I'll go with Troy Smith as well. I know the last game how it ended, but that guy was just, my God, was he a Michigan slayer. Played against 3 good Michigan teams too in 04, 05, 06. They were actually Ohio State was underdog in 04, and that was Troy Smith's coming out party. So give me Troy Smith, Heisman Trophy winner. All right, the 10s. I'm going to go with Zeke and Joey Bosa. A lot to pick from there. That was another great decade for Ohio State. But give me Zeke and give me the shrug, Joey Bosa. When I think of the national championship team, obviously I think of Zeke. You think of a lot of things, that 2014 national championship team with Cardale and everything. But Joey Bosa with the shrug, that was awesome. That was his best year too. He was good as a freshman. He was good as a junior. But sophomore year, Joey Bosa was peak Joey Bosa at Ohio State. And when he broke out as a star with the shrug, I just remember him talking about like he's got that. It's funny that like he ended up being like a drafted by a Southern California team because he always had that Southern California feel to him. I guess he's from Southern Florida. I guess it's not we always kind of had that that surfer mentality. Because I remember when he was being interviewed his sophomore year, that 2014 season, he started doing the shrug. Somebody asked him about that. He was like, "Yeah, You know that emoji? That's where it's from, man. He always reminded me of Spicoli, but Spicoli couldn't put on a helmet and just terrorize offensive tackles throughout the game. Joey Bosa might be a little bit of a skater guy off the field. On the field, he was an absolute terrorizer. Loved football too. You remember that? You guys know that little emoji? That's a terrible Joey Bosa impersonation, but he's one of my favorite players. And then, okay, so far in the 20s, man, again, there's so many good ones to pick from. Give me Captain Jack Sawyer. Again, this is like how they are off the field, on everything about them, leadership, everything. And I got to go J.J. Smith. Got to go Jeremiah Smith. He might go down as the best. In fact, he will go down as the best receiver ever at Ohio State, which is insane to say that. Chris Carter and all the rest. But he's going to go down as the best. If he stays relatively healthy this year, he'll go down as the best. I don't think they're going to be able to make an argument for anybody over him. You just look at Ohio State career. He would have to then have a great pro career to beat Chris Carter in all things combined. And maybe JSN when all things have settled down here. All right, so there you go. All right, kind of a long answer there. I'll try to be more concise here. That's 7 questions in total. Next one, this will be easy. This will be a little easier. From Dadman. Dadman says, Dave, what was the deal with Logan George this year? He transferred in and, didn't play. Now he's transferred out. Yeah, I mean, Logan George came in from Idaho State, so we knew that was going to be a big jump. But last spring, he enrolled. I mean, he was here at this time last year. They liked him. You talked to the coaches last year. They're like, yeah, we think we're going to be able to use Logan George. He's been looking good. So he got banged up, and I don't think he was ever really fully healthy. And then even maybe if he was toward the end of the year, like Zion Grady jumped him. Zion Grady jumped Bo Atkinson too. So I think it's a multitude of factors. He got hurt. We also do young guys in the program. He only has 1 year left, Logan George, unless he somehow gets a medical red shirt for this past year, which he might. So maybe he's got 2 years. But he transferred to Washington. So he's going to another Big Ten school. Washington got him. So I think he knew young guys had passed him, Zion Grady being, first and foremost there. And injuries. I think that was a big part. I do think he would have played if he was completely healthy. I think he would have been a help out a little bit. Would he have played a lot? No, because Caden Curry and Kenyatta Jackson were not coming off the field too much for Logan George. But I think he would have played a little bit. But there you go. So he's off to Washington. He's got 1 year left unless he gets a med shirt for this past year, which he might. He already redshirted 1 year at Idaho State. So, heck, with people getting like 9th years, he really should get a 6th year. If he only had a regular red shirt and then he played. And then transferred to Ohio State, hurt. Hopefully he gets a 2nd year. All right, next one from Stony Rock. This will be an easy one too. He's like, you going down to spring training this year? You and J-Book going to go on any spring training games this year? J-Book might, since he lives down there. I will not be going to Goodyear this year for spring training, but if there's actually baseball next year, I intend on going back next year if they actually have a baseball season in 2027. And then if that gets canceled or the season gets delayed or whatever, definitely I'll go back by 2028. That's a cool experience. Really cool. Finally did it for the first time last year. So no Goodyear, Arizona for me this year, but hopefully next year. And J-Book lives down there in Scottsdale, so hit him up if you're down there. We went to a Angels-Reds game, spring training game last year in Tempe. It cracks me. The Angels play at Devil Stadium in spring training, Diablo Stadium. I get it. They're the Sun Devils in Tempe with Arizona State and everything. It's just funny seeing the Angels playing at Devil Stadium. Tempe Diablo Stadium, the spring training home of the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California Angels, whatever they're going by these days. All right, next one. My guy Garrick Hodge says, Dave, who is your favorite pro coach and why is it Zach Taylor? He knows it's not Zach Taylor. We'll stay in the city of Cincinnati, though. Oh, by the way, I forgot something. I'll have to go back and name my favorite coaches, my 2 favorite coaches at Ohio State. Okay. Tito Francona. I'll give it to Tito. I've always loved Tito. There was always something about him. Man, he did play for the Reds 1 year way back in the day, but I loved what he did with the Red Sox, breaking the curse. And then I'm no Cleveland Indians fan at the time, now Guardians, but, man, I found myself rooting for them because of him. And they were just a likable team, and a lot of my friends were Guardians fans. Like when they went to the World Series, I was pulling for them. That was a hell of a World Series by the Cubs and the then Indians. I'll go with Terry Francona as my favorite pro coach. Zach Taylor is not even in others receiving votes. And then Ted Ginn Jr. is also one of my favorite pro coaches for the Columbus Aviators. Hell yeah. All right. See, Julian Sands' brother is one of the quarterbacks. I don't think he's going to start, but he's one of the quarterbacks on the Aviators roster, which is cool. It's really cool that Ted Ginn Jr. is the head coach of the Columbus Aviators. If you guys don't know what that is, like the XFL and USFL have combined into the United Football League. So now it's actually its third year. This is the first year Columbus is going to have a team. I always said, if you're going to have a spring football league, pro league, you better have a team in Columbus, because this is one area that will actually support it, probably TV ratings and attendance. Are they going to sell out historic Crew Stadium? No, but I bet it'll be fun over there, tailgating. And Garrick and I will be out there at some games, tailgating. All right. There you go. Garrick trying to get me to say Zach Taylor is my favorite coach. All right. I'm going to go back to Ohio State. My first question from Buckscrab. I forgot to say, listen, there's no wrong answers here. If you say Urban Meyer, I'd be like, that's a great answer. Ryan Day. I love Ryan Day. I'm going to give it to Jim Tressel. During my lifetime, my favorite, I missed Woody. I loved Earl, was not a Cooper fan. Give me Jim Tressel. He came in and flipped the rivalry on its head, called his shot with the 310-day speech. Ohio State was 2-10-1 against Michigan under Cooper. Tressel comes in, bam, flips it on its head, goes 9-1 against them, wins the national title in year 2, and just put up that proverbial fence around Ohio, and it's never really been the same since then. Michigan still gets some guys from Ohio, of course, including their current running back. They're always going to get good players from Ohio, but it's not like it was when I was growing up. It was like half their team was from Ohio. So Jim Tressel. And if I'm going basketball, that's pretty easy. That's pretty easy. It'd be Gary Williams. I'm kidding, not Gary Williams. Be Randy, no. Thad Matta. That's an easy one if you're a basketball fan. Thad Matta would be the favorite. So those are Jim Tressel, which is, again, no wrong answers, man. If you said Urban or Ryan Day, well, wrong. If you say John Cooper, wrong answer. But between Tressel, can you guys imagine the luck of Ohio, fortune of Ohio State? I know there was a fickle year mixed in. To go from Tressel to Urban to Ryan Day, all national championship coaches, all guys that are, Hall of Fame coaches at Ohio State. If they're not already in it, they will be. Just extremely fortunate to have those three back to back to back, pretty much. All right. Next one. This is from Tampa, OSU. He said, Dave, I saw the story and I watched the whole interview with Ted Carter when he talked about NIL not being sustainable 3 years from now. Meaning, like, yeah, we can pump a bunch of money into football. Are we still going to be able to be competitive in like ice hockey and men's basketball? Is this sustainable? And Ted Carter said, no, it has maybe 2-3 years left. And I don't think it's sustainable. I totally agree with them. What Tampa OSU wants to know is, I listened to the whole interview. He's like, I heard what he said. And I agree with him. By the way, I love Ted Carter. I think Ohio State we probably don't talk about that enough. What an awesome president he is. I love that he's the president. Loves the football team. He's not just a veteran of our military. The guy was a freaking vice admiral in the Navy. High-ranking official, was in the Navy for years, went to the Naval Academy, played hockey for the Naval Academy. His nickname in the Navy was Slapshot, which I find awesome. I love Ted Carter. But Tampa OSU does make a good point. He said, I heard him say it's unsustainable, but I didn't hear him say, like, what is the answer? What's Ohio State's plan? Well, I think the short answer to that is they don't really know yet. They don't know. I think Ted Carter's a straight shooter. Was he going to say everything that was on his mind during that interview with Dom Tiberi? No. That was a lot of good stuff. A lot of meat on that bone. 19 minutes, great stuff from Ted Carter and great questions from Dom. I don't think they know for sure. I think they were hoping that this college sports commission and all this would take care of it. That was always pie in the sky. I don't know how much Ted Carter actually believed that would work. Ross Bjork seemed to be pretty confident. He thought people would, it was almost like the honor system with this college sports commission and the third-party clearinghouse and all this stuff. It's like people are just going to do what they do. Now there's reports out there. People just aren't reporting NIL deals. It's like basically black market NIL deals, not all over the place, but enough, which of course that's going to happen. It's the same thing. You try and limit this, it's just going to go back to the bag man. Okay, so playing by the rules, which there really are not any, to me is untenable. So what are they really hoping? Reading between the lines, it's not even totally reading between the lines because he kind of said it once. I think deep down they're hoping, or maybe just not even deep down, maybe just a very shallow down, or right at the tip, they're hoping that Congress gets involved. They pass some type of legislation, which they kind of already did, but it's not. They've got to have something where like states can't overrule it, where every state can't do its own thing. I think they're hoping for congressional legislation here. I don't know if that's feasible. He mentioned it like once. He's like, Congress might have to get involved, or the White House might have to get involved. So you might say, well, come on, don't they have bigger fish to fry? Of course the government has bigger fish to fry, but they can walk and chew gum at the same time. They can put a committee together and figure something out to save college sports. Because if everybody that's the decision makers in college sport feel like it's unsustainable, they're probably right. They know the books. They're smart people. Ted Carter's not saying that to scare people. He really believes. He didn't just come out and say it. Dom asked him. He's like, a lot of people think it's unsustainable. What do you think? He's like, yeah, I don't want to make a headline or anything, but it is. It's not sustainable. So there you go. I don't think Ohio State really knows. They're completely committed to being like at the forefront of football. Would that be at the expense of men's basketball? We're kind of seeing that right now. I mean, Ohio State, 1 or 2 in the Big Ten. I think they're second behind Oregon, depending on. I mean, I would love to see the books. They're right there. They're top 5 in the country. Top 1 or 2 in the Big Ten in NIL spending in football. Where are they in men's basketball? 12th, 13th, or 14th. I've heard any one of those 3. So they're somewhere between 12th and 14th in men's basketball spending in NIL. So they're going to be competitive and then some in football when it comes to NIL. It's the other stuff. So if you don't care about any other sport at Ohio State, you're all in on football, you have nothing to worry about. If you do care about men's and women's basketball, you care about hockey. By the way, hockey. How good is hockey at the Olympics right now? We got the semifinals today. Canada, Finland here. A little, about a half hour away. Then we got the United States against Slovakia. The other semifinal at 3:10. Let's go USA. Just like the women yesterday. We need the men to get the gold. That'd be the first for the men since 1980. It's the miracle on ice. So, yeah, I don't think they know for sure what they want to do, but they do know that they're going to, like, football, nothing to worry about. They're going to be just fine in football. Other stuff, we shall see. Them being 12th to 14th in the Big Ten in men's basketball is not – it's not Ohio State, okay? That's not Ohio State. Are they going to be number 1 in both? I don't know if that's possible. Michigan's doing a good job of spending in both. They're spending a ton in basketball. They're spending a lot in football. I think Michigan overall is spending more than Ohio State and NIL combined. Michigan's baseball team is really good too. So I don't want to hear any crap that Ohio State can't have a good baseball program. I mean, the weather in Columbus right now, generally speaking, is much nicer than Ann Arbor, Michigan. And Michigan finds a way to have – they're ranked. Michigan has a ranked baseball team. So we'll see. Buckeyes are off to a 3-0 start, though. They did sweep St. Louis last week. So we'll see. Maybe the Buckeyes can do good again this weekend in baseball. But I don't know. I agree with everything Ted Carter said, and I can see why he's a little – not that he was really asked what's the answer. I can see why he didn't put anything out there. I think if he knew the exact answer, he'd say it. Kind of alluded to it. All right, a couple more and we'll get you guys out of here. Yeah, I'm saving the main one for last. The top 7 true freshmen in order. And really, the question is, jumping ahead a little bit, is going to be like, as you project their careers, not just necessarily this fall, the true freshmen we're looking at, but like this fall, we'll if a dog's going to bite, he's going to bite as a pup, right, Coop? But their careers overall. Who are the top 7 guys? Who's going to have the best careers out of this true freshman class for the Buckeyes? It's looking like a really good true freshman class. We'll finish with that. Before we get to that, okay. Buckaholic. This is one I had to look up. I was not sure about this. Good question. A little out of left field. This is not like a football question, but it kind of is. All right, Buckaholic. When do the Buckeye trees get planted in Buckeye Grove for the consensus All-Americans? I had to look this up. I was like, when they do it? They do it before the spring game. Either like the week of, or sometimes even the morning of. So it's before the spring game. Sometime the Friday before the spring game. This year it's April 18th. Tickets actually go on sale today for the spring games. $13. $13 for general admission. I always say if you have a family of 4 and you're a middle class family, and man, you're going to be out like $1,000 at least going to an Ohio State football game if you take your wife and kids, and with tickets and parking. And I'm being like, kind here saying 1,000, over 1,000. We're talking about tickets, parking, food, beverages, everything that goes into it. Some people are out of town. They have to stay overnight. Most people, I think, if you live anywhere in Ohio, you can come and just drive back. But it's a good thing about it being relatively centrally located. But you're out a lot of money. Spring game is perfect if you have little kids. It's perfect for everybody. It's perfect for your wallet, okay? $13 a ticket. Your kids, depending on how old they are, depending on when they got the sickness, 6-year-old me would have known the difference. A lot of 6-year-olds probably wouldn't know the difference. They think it's a real game. They see the Buckeyes out there in full uniform. They're at the horseshoe. They see the band. They see the cheerleaders. They see Brutus. Real game. No difference for the kids. You're spending a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what you normally would spend. And a lot of times parking is free. In fact, I think it's free everywhere. It's not right outside the stadium, not like the West Stadium lot, but you can find free parking, $13 to get in. I would recommend bringing because where they're going to get you is food. We do a little tailgate, eat a lot before you come in, and then eat on your way back. But yeah, it's a great time for the people to get to the spring game. And then you can see, if you get there at the right time, you can see them plant the Buckeye trees for Buckeye Grove. There you go. Yeah, and when I was doing research for the show, looking that up, first things that popped up was how to grow a Buckeye tree in Ohio. I'm like, no, when do they plant the Buckeye tree in the Buckeye Grove is what I wanted. But by accident, I noticed, spring is the best time to plant a Buckeye tree. But if you miss your time and you want to plant a Buckeye tree in your yard, don't do it in the summer. Wait till fall. That's pretty much common. Same thing with growing grass and most other stuff. So yeah, if you want to plant a Buckeye tree, you can buy one. There's instructions all over the internet. So there you go. If you want to put a Buckeye tree in your yard, it'd be a nice little conversation starter. What is that? It's a Buckeye tree. Are you an All-American? No, just a really good Bucknutter. I think that counts. All right. We call this bearing the lead in the industry. Put it as the main topic for the headline. Just now getting to it. All right. Fox R 2001. The professor. He's legit a college professor. That's just not just a dumb name I gave him. The professor. Fox R 2001. 2026 recruiting class looks really good. Who's going to have the best career in order? He won the top 5, but then he gave 7, so I'm going to give 7. And I'll tell you what, man, I'm going to give him he didn't ask for most underrated in the class. I'm going to give that as well. Okay. I have the same 7 that Fox R 2001 did, just in a different order. These are the same 7 that he had, just in a different order. So we both have Chris Henry Jr. number 1. And he's going to have the best of career of these guys. I love this class. I'm going to go number 2, Legend Bay. I already was high on him watching his film against really good competition in Texas. He just runs away from everybody's quarterback. He just would good luck. And he's playing he's not playing like deep division, low, small school like Michigan high school football, big school Texas football, and he's out there just destroying dudes. Then I was already pretty high on him. Then all the stuff with recruiting, I thought he handled that well, despite 17-year-old kid going through that. I thought he handled that really like an adult, even though the adults with him maybe were not handling it like adults. I was impressed with all things Legend Bay. Where did it go from maybe having him? I think Fox R 2001 has him like 4th on his list. Where did it go from like 5th or 4th for me to 2nd? When Ryan Day said he's a poor man's Tyreek Hill. And I know Tyreek Hill just got cut. I know Tyreek Hill's on the off-the-field stuff. That's not what Ryan Day was talking about. He was talking about prime Tyreek Hill, who was like the quickest, fastest guy in the NFL, nicknamed the Cheetah. That is who Ryan Day was talking about. He's not saying he's going to be as good as Tyreek Hill. You said he's like a poor man's Tyreek Hill out there with his burst and his speed. They need that. They need that element. I think Turbo Rogers can add some of that too. But Legend Bay, I have him number 2. 3, I'll go with Sam Greer. Almost went with Sincere Johnson. There's other guys. It's really like 3 through 7 is almost like just bunched in for me. I'll go with Sam Greer. I have high hopes for him. Big offensive lineman from Ohio. It's nice getting a stud national, highly ranked national offensive lineman who's here in Ohio. I love the Ohio linemen. I don't even care if they're 3 stars. I get a lot of those 3 stars. That's kind of the new plan anyway. Let's get those Ohio linemen, maybe redshirt them. Maybe not necessarily a Sam Greer, but redshirt some of these guys. Already it's paying off with a guy like Jake Cook. Jake Cook didn't even have a ranking in the composite. And they ranked like 1,000 guy. He wasn't even ranked in the top 1,000 overall. And local Ohio kid, they take him. They already like him. He's going to be a redshirt freshman this year. Give me those 3-star offensive linemen from Ohio that the staff likes. Okay, then you add in those 4-star and then 5 stars. Maxwell Riley's a 4-star. Sam Greer's 5-star. I love that. They got Carter Lowe the previous year. So I like Sam Greer as the number 3. He's going to have the 3rd best career out of these guys. I'll go with Sincere Johnson next. About time somebody from Cleveland, Glenville came here and actually did something, huh? Oh, wait a minute. I guess there was, Dante Whitner and Ted Ginn Jr. and Troy Smith and Marshawn Lattimore and Arvell Reese and on and on and on and on and on. Other than those guys, hopefully, finally, Cleveland Glenville guy pans out. But I like Sincere Johnson a lot. Like him. When's the last time? I guess you could argue like Rob Rose. He was a 5-star. Like, when's the last time a highly ranked Glenville kid, Ray Small, came here and was like, oh, how was he that highly rated? We thought, like, remember when Marshawn Lattimore, he came in, he hurt his hamstrings, red-shirted, played as a redshirt freshman. You guys remember that? No one thought he was any good. He struggled. It wasn't like you guys weren't seeing things right. He struggled that year. And then he had like maybe the best year we've seen as an Ohio State corner as a third-year sophomore. I mean, that's not even hyperbole. He was that good that year. And then was really good his first few years in the NFL. He's fallen off now with the Commanders, but he was fantastic with the Saints. Got that second contract. So Marshawn Lattimore, he was a guy maybe we were thinking, okay, he's the guy, big-time recruit, not really working out, and then bam, he just explodes as a third-year sophomore. So I'm bullish on Sincere Johnson. I think he's going to be a really good player here. All right, number 5 on my list was number 2 on Fox R's list. That would be Kari Wilder, who can play defensive end. He's big and strong enough. I don't know what they're going to do. He could move into 3-tech. I love getting him. He was the highest ranked defensive lineman in the class for the Buckeyes. Really good get going out to California and getting him. So yeah, Wilder, you easily could argue he should be higher. Again, I think 3 through 7 it's really like splitting hairs. I think he's going to have a really good career, and he's going to play as a true freshman. We'll see how much, but I do think he's going to see the field this year for the Buckeyes. Speaking of true freshmen on defense, I think are going to see the field this year. 6 and 7 on my list. A couple of defensive backs. I'm going to go Jay Timmons at corner and Blaine Bradford at safety. 6 and 7 on my list. So there you go. I'll give you my most underrated in the class in a second here. So my top 7 true freshmen as far as the careers they're going to have for the Buckeyes. There you go. Chris Henry Jr., Legend Bay, Sam Greer, Sincere Johnson, Kari Wilder, Jay Timmons, Blaine Bradford. All right, most underrated. Brock Boyd. Wide receiver Brock Boyd is your most underrated guy in this class. I'm confident in it. He's ranked as the number 123 wide receiver recruit in the country in 2026. There's 122 wide receivers better than him. Do you think Brian Hartline agreed with that when he was recruiting Brock Boyd? Do you think Brian Day agrees with that? Do you think Mark Pantoni agrees with that? No. They like this kid. I know that from numerous sources. Again, a young man playing high school football in Texas against top competition at a big-time school in Texas, and all he does is catch the ball. He's quick. He's tough. He's going to be a really good player here. And he's a 3-star, ranked as the 123rd best wide receiver in the country. 123. I'm not saying he should be 23, but in my opinion, everything I see on film and the way the coaches like him and his production level and everything about him, I think he at least should be a 4-star, should be a top 50 wide receiver. Not top 50 overall, although I like him a lot. He definitely should be a top 50 receiver in the country. There's not 49 better wide receivers than Brock Boyd in the country. So he's the most underrated. All right, there you go, my friends. Enjoy the hockey today if you're into that. I like the Olympics overall, but I mean, it's like the ice hockey is just, it's by far my favorite of the winter sports. And then it's kind of like summer games. I love the summer games too. Although at least I like the sprinting in the summer games almost as much as basketball. The basketball, love the Olympic basketball. But hockey, come on, men. Win today. Probably play Canada on Sunday. Canadians will be favored, but the Americans have a chance to win their first gold medal in 46 years. That'd be really cool. All right, guys, thank you very much. Thanks to all the Bucknutters that asked questions for today's show, and thanks to everybody who tuned into the show. I appreciate that very much. J-Book will be back with me next Friday. I'll be with you guys and Dan Rubin on Monday. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Go Bucks.